Have you ever stopped to think that the human body is, without a doubt, the most complex and efficient logistics network on the entire planet? I mean, forget about massive shipping companies or online retailers. The system running inside you right now is an absolute masterpiece of supply chain management. So let's dive into the owner's manual for this incredible machine you call home.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to get a handle on the sheer scale of your internal network. Then we'll look at how it gets all its fuel and how all the goods get delivered on this transportation superhighway. After that, we'll check in with the security and sanitation crews, and finally, we'll see how you can actually check under the hood using system diagnostics.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, your body's internal network. The absolute best way to wrap your head around this is to picture your body as this massive, totally self-sustaining city. A city populated by trillions of tiny citizens, and those are your cells.
And that right there is the big question, isn't it? How does this city run around the clock in perfect sync without you ever having to give a single order? Well, the answer is this incredible web of interconnected and super specialized systems where every single one has a critical job to do. That brings us right to Section 2, fueling the system. Because just like any city, your body needs a constant flow of fuel and power just to keep the lights on. And this is where the ports of entry come into play. So your body has these two main ports of entry, and they are working nonstop. The respiratory system, think of that as the city's power plant. It's bringing in the oxygen that's absolutely essential for generating energy in every single cell. At the exact same time, you've got the digestive system acting as the fuel depot, taking in food and breaking it down into all the nutrients the city needs to build, repair, and just operate. And this whole digestive journey, it's a really amazing multi-stage process. I mean, it starts in the mouth, obviously. Then the stomach uses acid and enzymes to just mush everything up. But the real magic, the critical moment, happens in the small intestine. This is where all those valuable nutrients finally get absorbed into the body's transportation network. After that, the large intestine just handles water absorption and waste management.
Of course, the main digestive tract doesn't work alone. No way. It has this crucial support crew. The liver is busy producing bile, which you need to break down fats. The pancreas is making these powerful enzymes to help digest everything. And the gallbladder, it's like a little storage tank, holding onto that bile and releasing it at precisely the right moment. It's just perfect teamwork.
Okay, so once all the fuel and power have been acquired, how do they actually get delivered? Well, that takes us to Section 3, the transportation superhighway. This is your circulatory system, and blood is the vehicle that delivers all the goods.
So, what even is blood? You might actually be surprised to hear that it's mostly liquid. Get this, about 55% of your blood is something called plasma. It's this yellowish fluid that carries proteins, hormones, and all the waste products. The other 45%, well, that's made up of the specialized cells that do all the heavy lifting.
And inside that 45%, every single cell type has a super important job. Your red blood cells, they're the oxygen delivery trucks, zipping around and dropping off their cargo at every cell in the city. Your white blood cells are the security patrol, constantly on the lookout for invaders. And then you have platelets, and they're the emergency road repair crew, ready to patch up any leaks at a moment's notice.
But transportation isn't its only gig. Blood is also your body's climate control system. It helps move heat around to keep your temperature stable. And it has these buffers that maintain a perfect pH balance, which is absolutely critical for pretty much every chemical reaction in your body to work correctly. You know, talking about security patrols and repair crews leads us perfectly into Section 4, security and sanitation. Because any bustling city needs its first responders and cleanup crews to keep things safe and running smoothly.
Now, to understand the body's security system, we have to talk about a fluid called lymph. Think of it this way. When blood delivers supplies, some of that liquid plasma naturally seeps out into the tissues to surround the cells. That fluid, now we call it lymph, gets collected into a whole separate network. From there, it circulates through your tissues, acting like the cleanup crew, collecting waste and hunting down any invaders.
Yeah, a great way to think about the two systems is to imagine the bloodstream as the main highway network. It's all about high-speed delivery. The lymphatic system, on the other hand, is like the network of side roads and back alleys. Its job isn't speed, it's being thorough, patrolling every little neighborhood, handling security, and taking out the trash.
And along these side roads, there are these critical security checkpoints. Lymph nodes, you've probably felt them in your neck when you're sick, are basically filtering stations that trap germs from the lymph. The spleen does a pretty similar job, but for the blood. It filters out old, worn-out cells and acts as another major hub for fighting infections.
So what about physical damage? What happens when there's a breach, a leak in a blood vessel? Well, that's when the emergency repair crew, our platelets, just springs into action. First, the vessel itself squeezes tight to reduce blood flow. Then platelets swarm the area to form a quick temporary plug. And finally, a process called coagulation kicks in, using this protein called fibrin to create a really strong, durable mesh that forms a stable clot and stops the bleeding. It's an amazing three-step emergency response.
So, with all these unbelievably complex systems working together, how do we know if everything is running the way it should be? Well, that brings us to our final section. Section 5, System Diagnostics. It's time to check under the hood.
Clinical blood tests are basically the diagnostic dashboard for your body. To check on that emergency repair system, for example, doctors use tests like prothrombin time, or PT, and another one called APT. They both measure how fast your blood clots, but they test different parts of that whole chemical reaction. It helps them pinpoint exactly where a problem might be. And a simple platelet count, that just tells them if you have enough repair crew members on standby.
All this also shows you how important identity is in this whole network. See, your blood cells have unique markers on their surface, and that's what creates different blood types. For a safe blood transfusion, the person receiving the blood, their security system can't see the donor's blood as an invader. That's why compatibility is so incredibly critical. For example, if you have type O blood, you can only receive from other type O, while type AB is called the universal recipient because it can safely receive from any type.
And hey, it's not just about A, B, and O. You can't forget about another really important marker called the Rh factor. That's the little plus or minus sign on your blood type, and it's one more piece of the puzzle that has to be matched up correctly to make sure the whole system accepts the delivery without sounding the alarm.
You know, when you take a step back and look at the whole incredible picture, this quote really just nails it. From the fuel depot of your digestive system to the security patrols of your lymphatic system, every single part is a dedicated team player. It's all just one vast, coordinated effort with one single mission, keeping you alive and running.
Which leaves us with just one last thought. This incredible, automated logistics network, it never takes a day off. It is working for you right now, this very second. So the only question left is, knowing how it all works, what are you going to do to support it?